Okay, the microbiome regarding losing weight. My favorite subject. The microbiome, the gut flora, it's called more commonly. It's actually the flora of not just your gut, but all of it, like your mouth, your stomach, on your skin. There are supposed to be 100 million bacteria in your gut alone, not to mention all the rest. And they play a significant role in our health. Now, like I said, it's going to get more complicated here. Don't worry, I'm going to give some general tips to improve your gut flora. And we're even going to test it a little bit, how your gut flora probably is. But I have been studying this for years, and this is really like a fine art to make a good gut flora with somebody who doesn't have it to begin with. It's a little more complicated, unfortunately, than prebiotics and probiotics, although they might work for you. But if you really want to get into this, be prepared for my upcoming lecture. It's probably going to be called something like Improved Gut Problems, because that has a lot to do with the microbiome, like amongst other things. At the time of this recording, I don't have it on yet, but maybe it's already there, so check it out. And other than that, just get a professional, somebody who's trained into improving gut flora. Okay, what do these bacteria do? Let's keep it at gut. I'm just going to say gut flora, but I mean all the flora, all the bacteria. They were supposed to be there in large quantities and in the right amount and the right kind and the right species. And if that is correct, then it will communicate with your immune system, with your metabolism, with your brain a lot. It makes a lot of these happy hormones and fuels for your brain. Again, only if it's the right kinds of bacteria. Now, this used to be fine because, caveman time again, here I go again, caveman time, we used to eat certain amount of carbs, and the healthy carbs, the fruits, the vegetables, the fibers, and that was a really good source for these bacteria. But nowadays, like I said, we're changing the diet too fast. We're taking too much antibiotics, probably. We are mothers. That's just too bad. A mother sometimes doesn't have, or sometimes doesn't want, or doesn't feel right to give too much breastfeeding. Well, breastfeeding is actually the main thing to get a good gut flora going from the start. And if you miss that, then you already have like a worse gut flora. Well, I wouldn't say for the rest of your life, but you are more inclined to go back to these bad bacteria because you haven't been able to grow the right ones to begin with. You can counteract it, but it takes some time. What else? Cesarean section instead of like a natural birth. Natural birth, you're supposed to go past and get some bacteria in there in your system. The amount of sunlight you get even has an influence on the bacteria. So a lot of things influence these healthy bacteria. And if it goes wrong, well, in the case of losing weight, I'm going to give you this example. I already talked in the beginning that if you take like a poop transplant from a thin person and you put it into an overweight person, that overweight person will start losing weight. This is how strong it is, how incredible this can work. It's just problematic that it's a temporary solution, and I'm going to talk about more permanent improvements. They started this with rats. Never forget that study. They took 2 rats and they gave them both like a high fructose corn syrup diet, which is like the fastest way to get obese. But one of the rats they just left alone and they both started with good gut flora. The other rat, they forced the flora to remain good. They forced it. They just gave it probiotics in the right way, in the right amount, and they just forced the gut flora to not change along with this bad diet. Now, the first one, who didn't get any intervention and get that corn syrup stuff in there, it turned into this little ball with beady little eyes in there. It was horrible to see. Horrible. Sorry for everybody who thinks that is cruel. This is science, unfortunately. The other one, with the same diet, did not change that much. It just stayed like a thin little rat. So apparently these bacteria, they just force the metabolism to stay the same. So that's how strongly they communicate. So even if you do eat a little bit bad, if your gut flora would be from some scientific way, just force it to be the same, not much will happen. That's very promising, right? Okay. I'm going to give you the easiest tip, which will always work because I know that many people have a problem with this, and this just happens to be one of the most important things to get a healthy gut flora. Again, it's not the only one. If you have a bad tendency, this might not be enough. If you have a bad start, or you have too much stress, or you live in a really cold environment, but this is a very important thing, and that is variation. This is from my food schedules. If I give my clients my guidelines, I also have food schedules. And the trick is to eat as much variation as possible. The more variation you have, the more different kind of fibers you get into your system. Not just fibers, but mostly about the fibers. Like even one apple is not exactly the same as a different type of apple. So that's already variation. If you have enough variation, different kinds of bacteria will start to grow, and this is what you want. This is a healthy gut flora. We've been studying this, like they studied like tribes who still live. They have an enormous diversity, way more than us. So we need diversity in different species of bacteria, and how do you get it? Diverse eating. So go to the supermarket and just try to eat a different thing every time, even if you're like not really an adventurer when it comes to food. Just take one thing that you're like, okay, that's new, and just start having more of a different meal every day, different product in there. The goal is to have like 30 different types of food per week. I had a nice article, maybe it's up already, about how to get 400 grams, 3 to 400 grams. This is what I'm talking about of vegetables alone on a daily basis. This is a lot. So I have a nice article on that. And then just try to make it as much different as possible. All right, let's do something fun or disgusting. Let's see if your gut flora is probably on average okay, or that it's less than okay. Now, there are lab tests to do this, and I do lab tests with my clients, especially if they want to know or that I'm not sure about what's going on, specifically in the gut. Lab testing is really good at this, but there's also like some symptoms to see if your digestion and your gut flora is running optimally or not. And it's already really fast that it's not optimal. Okay, you got to go to the toilet about 1 to 2 times a day. If you're a woman, you can do a little less. Woman, like 2 times in 3 days is still fine, but not less than that. Like there are people out there who poop 3 times, once every 3 days, 4 days, 5 days a week. This is not a good sign of a good flora, and it's also very, very bad for your detoxification and for your gut lining itself. So please be careful. If you do have that, please contact me. I will give you 1 or 2 supplements and you will already go to the toilet better. And that is just, even if it's like artificial symptom treatment, it's still better than having like a delayed stool constipation. It needs to be type 4. This is the Bristol stool chart. It needs to be about type 4, so no lumps in there, but not soft either. It needs to be like just in between. No pressing. It needs to have well, a little smell is normal, but not a lot of stench. It's not good if somebody's like next to you in the toilet and be like, it's not good. That is a sign of that things are rotting inside. Actually, the protein is rotting if it smells really bad. So you're not absorbing the proteins you eat. That's not good. And then we have toilet paper. Unless you have type 4321, you don't need toilet paper, even if you have an unhealthy flora. But let's say you have 4, 5, 6, or 7. If you have that 4, 5, 6, or 7, and you need to wipe a lot, like more than 2 times, the second time should already be like a security wipe, just to see if everything is gone. But if there's like a lot sticking in there, or it's just you have to wipe over and over again, you're not digesting your food, you're absorbing. That could be digestive problems or gut flora or both. And last but not least, but this is a little difficult to estimate, you need a good quantity of stool as well. Most people don't reach 80 grams, and it should be about 200 grams. That means it should be about, depending on how big you are, male, female, how much you eat, about 2 average size bananas a day, I would say, like maybe a little bit more. Why is this important? Why is this a good sign? It's not just the leftover fibers and stuff like that, and leftover food. The volume of your stool is also pure, it's going to sound a little nasty, pure bacteria. They have a volume. But if they're not there, if it's not this 100,000 million bacteria, it's going to be small poop, small stool, and that is not a good sign. It needs to have a certain volume. I know for a fact that the first toilets are already out there that can weigh the amount, and this is a medical thing so far, but yeah, it's a good idea, I think. So check this out. If you have everything perfect, it's still not a guarantee, but it's probably not as bad as it could be. But if one thing is deviating, trust me, something is not optimal. You can be fine with that for years, decades even, but usually it does end up, it starts with little things and then they build up. So might want to work on it. Okay, let's go to the last one, estrogens. I'm also going to talk about cortisol a little bit, but I'm mostly going to talk about estrogens, female hormones. Males have it as well, but female hormones, and with females, it's going to be something that, well, many of my clients have imbalances on these estrogens, and it's very, very, very important to have this in the right balance for more than just losing weight. But I will talk about it in a minute.